Saturday morning, the Experts program kicks off right here on Power Talk Radio, 1460 and 101 FM. Mark Carbonaro with you, and Luis Alvarez, CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group, is the fellow that kicks us off on Saturday mornings as we get a chance to talk about technology. Luis, good morning to you.
Good morning, Mark. How are you today?
Doing really well. So we record these programs generally on Fridays. So today, Saturday being in a beautiful day, it's a car show day for me because we're hitting that season. Yeah. And a friend of mine, Henry Gong, is part of the Asian Community Celebration in Salinas. They're having their annual Asian Festival down on California Street today. And so they have a car show with that. So I decided to take the car over there. So that's where I'm going to be today till about 2 o'clock this afternoon. Looking forward to it. So should be a fun time.
Excellent. Yeah, it should be a fun time. We have our Rotary Clubs celebrating our 100th anniversary this evening over at Portobello's in the Taylor Building downtown.
Oh, great.
Yeah, the Rotary Club of Salinas was the original club in this area in Monterey County, and we're 100 years old this year. We're celebrating it near the Salinas Arch that we help fund and put up downtown, which is a beautiful symbol of the downtown area. If you haven't been downtown Salinas in a while, you should check it out. There's a lot going on down there.
I was down there about a month ago or so, and I saw the arch lit up, and it's really impressive. It really adds something to downtown, so it's very nice to see it there. Good job.
Thank you. I'll pass that along.
So we've got some interesting tech talk. We're focusing once again on internet security. It used to be that we would only talk cybersecurity like in, October? Because that was like the big thing. But now we have to do cybersecurity all the time because the scammers are getting more sophisticated. They're getting more aggressive. And now the latest, and we have a story here from KSBW, that remote access scams are now costing victims thousands of dollars. What exactly is a remote access scam, and how do we recognize one?
So the scams start by you getting an email saying that you're being charged a certain amount for a software product. Typically, it's some antivirus like a McAfee or Trend Micro or Norton, and they'll say, oh, charge your credit card $399 for this, or we're going to be charging your credit card $399 or $150, whatever the amount is. If this is an error, please call this phone number. And so, you get this email and you're like, well, that's not something I want. So you call the number and then they apologize and say, well, we want to make sure that you don't get charged for this. So we need to access your computer remotely so we can remove certain things so that you don't get charged. And of course, you're thinking you're talking to the real company. So you allow them access to your computer, and now they have your data. Now they have access to everything on your computer. They can steal things. They can go in and get your account information, anything that you have stored, lists, files. They can rummage through your computer. They can even install real malware that allows them access later. So that when they quickly say, okay, we're taking care of it, thanks very much, you're thinking to yourself, all right, that's done and over with. But what they really have done is they've installed a back door into your computer. So now they can monitor your activities and see you log into your bank accounts and into your credit card company accounts. And then when you're not looking, they can get back in there and steal all that information.
And there are a number of things that people have to do to keep themselves safe. First off, you have to understand that these types of offers are not done by legitimate companies that way. And that if you see a telephone number, and it could be a toll-free number, that your spidey sense should come on and say, this is a scam. What you would do is, if it's a credit card that you have issued through the bank, call the bank. Take out the credit card and call the number on the back of the credit card to your bank and report this to them. Say, hey, I just got this. Is this something you know about? Is this what you're sending me? And they'll say, no, we're not. So that's what you do. You do not call the telephone number in the email pitch. And what's interesting that you mentioned this to me, I'm on that Nextdoor Monterey, that online forum where people share information. And a woman from Pacific Grove posted about a scam that she received this morning. She got an email and it said, good news, we've added your credit card to Apple Pay. And it had her credit card type, the last 4 digits of the card number, however that they got that. And she said that the first thing that she did was she called her bank. In this instance, the bank that issued the card was Wells Fargo. And she called their 800 number and said, hey, I just received this notice that my credit card, my Wells Fargo business card, has been added to my Apple Pay. Did you guys do that? And of course, they told told her, no, we didn't, and that's a scam, and don't reply to it, and so forth. And then she forwarded the email to their security department so that they could see what their customers are running into now. So that's the way legitimate businesses handle these types of things.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, that you should never respond to a phone number or an email on an unsolicited communication, and especially true if you get a phone call. That's the other way the scammers are trying to get you to part with your money. We talked about the PG&E scam a few weeks ago, where you were getting phone calls from somebody that had essentially created a Pacific Gas and Electric caller ID. So it looked legit when you got the call. And if somebody ever calls you and says, in order to satisfy a debt or satisfy a payment that's overdue, you have to go get gift cards, be suspicious, because PG&E does not take gift cards for payment.
Right, exactly.
They're trying to scam you. And when you get those kind of calls, just hang up and call PG&E's legitimate number, see if in fact it's somebody from the company or not. But chances are it's not.
One other fraud alert we want to tell people about: don't be fooled by some of these new scams. I think we kind of mentioned one of them there, the Google Voice scams that you get, right?
Yep.
Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, AARP is reporting on these. What about the Google Voice? How does that work?
So the Google Voice scam is you get a phone call and they tell you you're about to get a verification code from Google Voice and you need to read them back. And then they use that information to basically get you to give them information about yourself, like credit card numbers and things like that, because they're saying there's an item that you might be wanting to buy, or maybe they claim that they found your pet, but they're trying to find a way to get you to give them information that you otherwise wouldn't give them. It's social engineering, and it's especially for older people who are more trusting than younger folks. It's a way to, again, get you to part with your money. So be suspicious when you get calls that seem out of sorts or out of place, especially if they're coming to you with something that you don't know anything about. And then they try to convince you that if you give them some more information about yourself, they can look into it and make sure that you don't get charged for something, or that, it's a legit deal. So just remain suspicious.
Right.
Be wary.
And one of the things you can do to help stop this is, if you have older family members, you might talk to your parents or your grandparents, aunts or uncles, and say, hey, have you gotten any of these type of phone calls? Have you gotten any offers like this? And interview them about it, because chances are they have, because these scammers know to go after the elderly who are not as technically adept or as wary about these scams as young people. And oftentimes it's older folks that get scammed. And there was an example of a scam. This happened at a Dollar General store down south. An elderly woman was in there and she was on the phone. She'd never purchased a gift card before, but she was trying to buy a $300 gift card. And she had the person on her cell phone and was talking to them. And the clerk, a young woman, overheard part of the conversation. And she came over to the woman and she put a note in front of her and she said, is someone trying to get you to buy them a gift card? Just nod your head yes, or shake it no. And the woman nodded her head. And then she said, is this someone you know? And the woman said no. She shook her head as no. So the young lady at the store knew this was a scam. And because the scammer was on the telephone, so she asked the elderly woman for her telephone. She gave it to her, and she immediately confronted the scammer on the phone and said, hey, your scam is ending right now because we've discovered what you're up to. How dare you? How could you steal from an elderly person like this? And you know what the scammer said? The scammer said, we need the money more than she does. We're trying to build a home in our country. This is obviously someone offshore. He says, and this elderly person, she will just leave her money to her stupid young people, her grandchildren, or kids who will only use it to buy drugs. So that's what these scammers think of the average American, and justifying their scams and their stealing of our money.
That's pretty sad, but unfortunately, that's the world we live in right now.
Yeah.
And we have to protect ourselves and protect those that we love. So make sure you have these conversations with your parents or even with your kids, because they can be victimized just as likely as anybody else.
Luis Alvarez, CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group, joining us today. Online, alvareztg.com, at AlvarezTG. That is the Twitter handle. And Luis, the toll-free number for the I-Team.
Give us a call at 866-78-I-TEAM. That's 866-784-8326.
And by the way, looking ahead to Monday, May 2nd, Luis joins us starting in the 8 o'clock hour. And we're going to be talking about what, Luis?
We're going to be talking about the do-it-yourself fix-ups that you can now do on your Apple phones, thanks to Apple opening the ability for you to buy parts from their website.
Okay, that's Luis Alvarez from the Alvarez Technology Technology Group. Thanks, Louis, and have a great weekend.
You take care, my friend.